Hello, friends. Today I'm going to teach you a poem by E. Cummings, "O Sweet Spontaneous." Now, the poet E. Cummings, he was born in 1894 in Massachusetts, that is in Cambridge, in Massachusetts. And his father was also was a member of the main, you can say, professionally, he was very educated, as well as he had a very important post in the Cambridge, in the political line of the Cambridge University. And at the same time, his mother was very affectionate, and both E. Cummings and his sister had a very good time with his parents. And this particular poem, "O Sweet Spontaneous," was published in his first collection of poetry, Tulips and Chimney, in 1900, which was published in 1923. This was his first collection of poems. Now, what is more important? "O Sweet Spontaneous," as this particular poet talks about in this poem. He says, "O sweet spontaneous earth, how often the doting fingers of prurient philosophers pinched and poked thee, has the naughty thumb of science prodded thy beauty, how often have religious taken thee upon their scraggy knees, squeezing and buffeting thee, that thou mightest conceive gods, but true to the incomparable couch of death, thy rhythmic lover, thou answerest them only with spring." Now, you will find in this particular poem, which is written in free verse, that is, it is doesn't have any rhyme or any particular meter, and this has used an extended metaphor for the earth. Now, earth is personified as a beautiful woman, and he has used personification and anthropomorphism in this particular poem in order to express his idea about the earth. And you know what is how he's personified using personification, that is any non inanimate object or non-living object is personified as a living being, as a person who can be extended and who can be shown as a living entity. So earth, where we take birth, is a living entity in this particular poem. And he personifies her as an beautiful woman. Because, see, the very first word in the poem, "Oh, sweet spontaneous." Now, he calls earth sweet and spontaneous in the sense that the earth, you know, how it is spontaneous in the sense that it has its own mystery. It lives in its own mysterious world, a world which cannot be conquered by any one individual. No intellectual discipline can conquer the beauties and the mysteries of the nature earth. Because he says, "O sweet spontaneous earth, how often have the doting fingers of prurient philosophers pinched." Now, see how he says. He says that, "O sweet spontaneous," the very beginning of the poem, O is usually an exclamation, is used as an exclamation mark, and it's like when you are invoking God, when you are invoking the muses or any particular being, then you use the word O. But here he is using the word O for the earth. He says, "Oh, sweet spontaneous." Spontaneous, why? Because it is very regular. Matlab, whatever the earth takes in and whatever the earth gives out, it's in its own spontaneity. And he says, "Earth, how often have the doting." Now, as if a beautiful woman is wooed by her lovers, isn't it? Just as a beautiful woman is wooed by her lovers, naturally, in the same way, Earth is also personified as a beautiful woman who is pursued by her lovers. But here, the lovers are in the form of science, philosophy, and religion. सो मैं ये बताना चाहूँगी तुम लोग को बच्चों कि क्या होता है कि इन टुडेज डिजिटल वर्ल्ड क्या आ गया है, साइंस आ गई है, फिलॉसफी है. फिलॉसफी इज द लॉजिकल थिंकिंग, यू नो, what you think about a particular being and about this particular world and about this particular earth. And religion of course is an imposition everywhere. मतलब religious musings are related to the spiritualism, the spiritual feeling. अब कितना कुछ लोगों ने रिलीजन में अर्थ के बारे में लिखा हुआ है. हमारी धरती माँ कहा जाता है, isn't it? और धरती माँ के लिए कितना कुछ कहा जाता है, तो उसे माँ भी बोला जाता है. So significance of earth is never symbolized as a male gender. You see, अर्थ को कभी ही नहीं कहा गया है, isn't it? कभी मैन का दर्जा नहीं दिया गया है. It's never put into the gender, a male gender, but it is always shown as a female gender. But and हमेशा beautiful कहा गया है. Beautiful in the sense because it gives so much, it emanates so much, it is subject to so many things in life. और इंसान का क्या, human being, what are the qualities of a human being? The human beings have brain. So human being has reason, human being has logic. So through the intellectual mind, which is exercised in the form of the intellectual disciplines like science, philosophy, and religion. All these intellectual and spiritual disciplines, they are trying to probe into the meaning of the earth. मतलब वो लोग अर्थ के बारे में डीपली जानना चाहते हैं. दे वांट टू प्रोब, मतलब पोकिंग कहता है ना, पोकिंग एंड डोटिंग. देखो कैसे अच्छे से कह रहा है. हाउ ऑफन हैव द डोटिंग फिंगर्स ऑफ प्रूरियन फिलोसोफर्स, पोकिंग फिंगर्स. उसी तरह से लाइक यू नो व्हेन अ चाइल्ड, a girl child grows up into a woman and she becomes a beautiful woman, how she becomes the subject of harassment by the male members, by the dominance of the male society. So यहाँ prurient word use करा है, that is a person who is sexually, you know, interested into probing or finding out about the other individual. और यहाँ पे individual कौन है? The earth. सो इसीलिए ये कहा गया एंजाममेंट इन द सेंस पर्सोनिफाई करा गया है अर्थ को एज अ ह्यूमन बीइंग. और कह रहा है हाउ ऑफन हैव द डोटिंग, दैट इज डोटिंग मतलब व्हेन अ लवर इज इन लव विद द बिलवेड, वो क्या कहता है, सारे टाइम ही इज डोटिंग अबाउट हिज लव फॉर द वुमन. हाउ ही डोट्स over the beauty of the beloved, and how he pokes means that is looking into all the time, finding out about the details, about the whereabouts, about the beings, about the existence, about the meaning of that particular being. So the whole poem, you know, in a way, tries to give a reflection about the meaning of life into this particular poem. And he says, how often have the doting fingers of prurient philosophers. Now, the doting fingers. Now, see, the language that the poet used, E. E. Cummings uses the language, you know, it's not, a simple stanza form, but it is by using enjambments. Enjambments means, that means when the line is continued without a pause. In fact, it can be a long sentence, it can be a couplet, it can be a whole stanza without its pauses and breaks, without punctuation marks. So here also you find there are no punctuation marks out here, for he says, often have the doting fingers of prudent philosophers pinched. मतलब ये पूरा एक continuation में है कि how pinched is all the time you are poking and trying to probe how these prurients, how these logical philosophers, how they are curious, inquisitive, and in finding out the details of the earth. So the prurient fingers of the fingers कह रहा है एक एक pin pointing each detail about the whereabouts of the earth. He says fingers of prurient philosophers pinched. Pinched मतलब एक एक जगह pinch करके. Like you know when you go in for acupuncture, the whole body is pinched with the needles in order to find out about your disease. एक एक पॉइंट को पिंच किया जाता है with the needle in order to find out why and with what the person is suffering with, isn't it? So in the same way, these Purian philosophers, they are probing, pinching into each detail of the earth. एक एक डिटेल वो फाइंड आउट करना चाहते हैं एंड दे आर एंड पिंचिंग एंड प्रोबिंग. सो दिस अगर तुम इसे अर्थ को एक वुमन के फॉर्म में लोगे, इफ यू विल पर्सोनिफाई earth as a beautiful woman, naturally she will be harassed, she will be sexually assaulted, and she will be not liking this intellectual intrusion of these disciplines upon her. So human intellect can have brains, can have knowledge, can have logic, but there are certain things in nature which are best left unsaid, which are mysterious, he says, because कहते हैं pinched and poked thee has the naughty thump of science prodded thy beauty. See, the sentence does not have any break, does not have any pause, does not have any comma, does not have any full stop out here. It is a continuation. So the first 24 lines of the poem are written in 4 quatrains, मतलब 4 lines के उसमें है. Or another important thing about E. Cummings is that a single word is sometimes giving a single word is like forming a single sentence, like and, poked, the. They are one single syllable words, isn't it? But they are forming a sentence. So their presence, those single words, is their presence of a single sentence, he says. And poked thee, that is, it also shows the emphasis that the poet wants to lay upon the meaning of the poem. Poked thee, thee कौन है? Earth. Poked thee, poke कर रहा है, pinch कर रहा है, dote कर रहा है. Doting, of course, is musing over the love for the beloved, musing over the beauty of the earth. Dote कर रहे हो earth के ऊपर, तो that means you are musing over the beauty of the earth. लेकिन pinching and probing क्या हुआ? मतलब वो तो तुमको जैसे कहना चाहिए एक एक चीज को डिटेल को फाइंड आउट कर रहे हो. You are trying to probe into the minute details of the earth. So this pinching and probing, he says, has the naughty thump of science prodded thy beauty? Naughty thumb कह रहा है. And science, you know, is a knowledge that is based on facts. So everything which we tended to believe about nature, we used to live in a make-believe world of nature, isn't it? हमें जो बता दिया गया, nature gives that and nature is able to do this and that. We tend to believe on all the traditional sayings that have been given to us or laid down to us since ages. But when science came, science started disproving things in nature by giving a factual knowledge, by proving things through the experimental science. Science has made experiments, और science ने ये बोला है how birth takes place and why the leaves of the flowers or of the trees, why they are green in color and why they are of different shades, and what is the purpose of these leaves, and what is the purpose of these flowers, and what is the purpose of the whole landscape. Everything in nature is not only the leaves and the flowers, but it is the whole landscape. The mountains, the springs, the rivers, the clouds, everything in nature, with the seasons also. So he says the naughty thumb, that means it cannot sit still. Science तो चुप बैठ ही नहीं सकती all the time. So वही बात है जिस तरह से कि एक बच्चा जो है sit still नहीं कर सकता, सारे टाइम शैतानी करता रहा. Every time, you know, he's inquisitive. Every time he wants to find out why this is happening, why this is there. isn't it? The curiosity kills the man wali baat hoti hai na, कि probably curiosity kills the man. And a child is also very curious to know all the details. He will probe into the details of each and everything in order to satisfy his curiosity. उसी तरह से science भी एक intellectual discipline है, which is like it's naughty thumb, that is it cannot, its thumb is all the time, moving and flitting in order to find out, probing in order to find out what could be the what details could be there about the beauty of nature. Let me find out, let me prove, let me lay down theories, facts, everything. हर चीज की एक theory होना चाहिए, हर चीज की एक logic होना चाहिए. That is, science is based on cause and effect. हर चीज, हर इफेक्ट का कोई ना कोई कॉज होगा ही होगा. लाइक द साइंस ऑफ द ग्रेविटी, कि भाई ऊपर बॉल फेंकोगे तो नीचे आई आएगी. दैट इज दैट साइंस ऑफ ग्रेविटी, इजंट इट? सो एवरीथिंग हैज टू हैव अ प्रूफ. So the naughty thumb of science, it pokes its finger everywhere, he says, and where into the beauty of nature. How often have religious taken thee upon their scraggy knees, squeezing and buffeting thee that thou mightest conceive gods. फिर religion को भी कहा गया है, religion को भी कहा गया है कि religion is trying to subjugate earth. In fact, it is trying to subjugate the whole world. एंड यहां पे जो कह रहा है कि रिलीजन हैज टेकन अपॉन दी स्क्रैगी नी, स्क्वीजिंग एंड बफेटिंग. ये जो वर्ड है स्क्रैगी नीज, स्क्वीजिंग एंड बफेटिंग, एज इफ द रिलीजन इज ट्राइंग टू रेप द अर्थ. The phenomena that the poet is using is as if the religion is trying to rape the earth and trying to, in order to conceive gods. उसे लगता है कि हम इससे जो क्या पैदा कर लेंगे, we'll know about gods. But the earth is faithful to life and death cycle that eludes human control. लेकिन नेचर का जो लाइफ एंड डेथ साइकिल है, उसके ऊपर ह्यूमन बीइंग ओवर पावर नहीं कर सकते, ओवर रूल नहीं कर सकते, ओवर एम्पावर नहीं कर सकते. ये जो प्रकृति के नियम है, ये जो प्रकृति की साइकिल ऑफ लाइफ एंड डेथ है, दैट कैन नॉट बी डोमिनेटेड बाय द ह्यूमन बीइंग. So the earth, the beautiful woman, is trying to fend itself away from the intrusion of religion, science and philosophy. ये तीनों जो हैं, they are like lecherous men. जैसे lecherous men होते हैं ना, having eyeing for the beauty of the girl, trying to capture and trying to assault her in order to make the woman their own. उसी तरह से साइंस, फिलॉसफी और रिलीजन अपने अपने तरीके से, in their own way, they are trying to capture the beauty of nature. So all these three intellectual philosophies are like lecherous men, aggressive and misguided, कहता है. और religion क्या है? As spiritual discipline, it acts as an intrusion on nature. जैसे intrude कर रहा है. अब तुम कहोगे religion spiritually intrude कर रहा है, पर no, the earth does not even like this spiritual intrusion of the religion upon itself. So scraggy knee, squeezing and buffeting, squeeze कर रहे हो, किसी को दबा रहे हो, दबोच रहे हो, isn't it? ये squeeze कर रहे हो, ये सारी चीजें जो हैं, they are the words which are showing the cruelty, the venality, the lowliness that is used in capturing the beauty of nature. Buffeting, that thou mightest conceive. Matlab, religion is raping the earth in order to conceive gods. But it fails to do that. But, देखो word, एक bracket में दिया, but, true to the incomparable couch of death, thy rhythmic lover. लेकिन earth evades this control of religion over its own self, and because the earth is true to its lover. अर्थ का लवर कौन है? डेथ. किस सेंस में अर्थ का लवर डेथ है? बिकॉज थ्रू इट it shows, or in fact it conceives the arrival of spring. after the passive winter season. ऑटम के बाद विंटर आता है, विंटर के बाद स्प्रिंग आता है. द विंटर इज सपोज टू बी द स्लीपिंग पैसिव सीजन because nothing is active at that time. But with the dawn of spring, spring is the rebirth and the renewal of life. Spring gives the beauty, the bounty, and the profundity of life. So, अर्थ जो है अपना आंसर जो देती है इन तीनों फैकल्टीज को, इंटेलेक्चुअल फैकल्टीज को, डिसिप्लिन्स को, रादर इंटेलेक्चुअल डिसिप्लिन्स को, दैट इज साइंस, फिलॉसफी और रिलीजन को क्या जवाब देती है? दैट इज इट इज द डॉन ऑफ स्प्रिंग, which is important. Why? Because it says to the incomparable, incomparable जिसकी कोई तुलना नहीं है, incomparable couch of death, thy rhythmic lover, rhythmic that is continuous, that is क्या है? नेचर में cycle of birth and death will continue to go on and on forever, and this cycle is something which cannot be questioned by human beings. This cannot be controlled by human beings. You cannot control the cycle of human cycle of life and death. So thou answered them only with spring. देखो लास्ट में कह नहीं रहा that nature rejects, criticizes at the same time all the rational inquiry that is laid down by these three intellectual disciplines, and at the same time it also rejects the organized religion in favor of, किस चीज के फेवर में? In favor of more intuitive ways of understanding earth. Intuitive ways of understanding क्यों कहा गया? क्योंकि this is something which you can understand through the self within you. अपने अंदर की आवाज से तुम पहचान सकते हो. मतलब science can prove, logic and philosophy can give you any meaning into life. They can give any meaning to the cycle of birth and rebirth and of death in life. But they cannot control. They cannot control this cycle of life. So the only answer to them and the nature gives is the spring, because spring symbolizes rebirth and renewal, and it is also symbolizes youth, beauty, and love. And this is the answer that the earth gives to these intellectual, you can say, disciplines. And ये कहता है, क्यों कहता है? क्योंकि ह्यूमन इंटेलेक्ट जो है वो लाइफ को कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकती है. बोथ हैव द पावर ओवर ह्यूमन बीइंग्स, बोथ हैव द पावर ओवर ह्यूमन बीइंग्स एंड नॉट द अदर वे. मतलब इन लोग के ऊपर ये जो डिसिप्लिन्स हैं, तीनों डिसिप्लिन्स हैं, दे हैव पावर ओवर ह्यूमन बीइंग्स, लेकिन अदर वे राउंड नहीं है. दे डोंट हैव पावर ओवर द अर्थ. अर्थ इज अ डोमिनेटिंग uncontrolled figure, a human figure, if you want to symbolize it as a human being and call it a woman, but it is mysterious in its own birth, in its own actions, and nobody can question the mystery of the earth. Those spring jo hai, which is the answer that Cummings give in the end of this particular poem, it is like a spontaneous retort. जैसे वो जवाब तलबी में आंसर बैक कर रहा है, and it is mocking, खिल्ली उड़ा रहा है. किसकी खिल्ली उड़ाता है? And all human endeavors, that is all the human effort that is put in by means of the three disciplines of science, philosophy, and religion. So ये spring represents everything, all those, except all those belief systems that cannot grasp, कहता spring के लिए कह रहा है, it cannot grasp about nature, including the beauty, romance, and profundity and vitality. So these three strict disciplines are ultimately, कहता है, they are overmatched by Earth's spontaneous power. So you can say, like dirty old men, they are trying to overpower or have nasty designs upon a woman, upon a beautiful woman, but at the same time, they are a nuisance. and they turn out to be foolish and feeble in the end. मतलब नेचर जो है उनको ऐसा ओवरपावर कर देती है कि ये तीनों डिसिप्लिन्स भी जो हैं दे टर्न आउट टू बी फूलिश एंड फीबल. फीबल मीन्स कमजोर इन द एंड. दे कैन नॉट स्टैंड, दे कैन नॉट डोमिनेट, they cannot overpower nature. Nature is uncontrollable. You cannot control the powers of nature. Uncontrollable earth. जब शेली ने अपनी पोएम ओ टू द वेस्ट विंड में भी कहा था कि द पावर्स ऑफ द वेस्ट विंड आर अनकंट्रोलेबल. वेस्ट विंड के पावर्स आर टू स्वीप अवे the dry leaves and pave a new way for the growth of new beds, for the growth of new buds, new life. So west wind का था as a destroyer and preserver भी था, दोनों functions. लेकिन nature can be in its destructive mood, nature can be in its preservative mood, लेकिन in its creative mood. लेकिन ये दोनों moods जो हैं they are not controlled by human beings. उसकी जब इच्छा होगी तब वो अपना, nature is more powerful, more dominating than these intellectual disciplines. So in a way, when the poet E. Cummings is talking about nature, you can say it is or at the same time resembling the romantics like Wordsworth and Keats and Shelley, who had written a lot about the beauties of nature. So there is a certain connotations with the romantics in this particular poem, because E. Cummings is also talking about the beauties of nature, the mysterious power of nature. Wordsworth ने भी तो कितना nature के लिए कहा था. The nature is the soul, the guide, the guardian. In fact, the soul of living being, nature को कहा था. And nature was so mysterious in all its aspects. That is, from his boyhood stage to his manhood stage, he had learnt a lot from nature. These beauteous forms have been to me as a landscape is to a blind man's eye. ये वर्ड्सवर्थ ने कहा था टिंटन एबी में. And ये भी कहा था, I can still hear the still sad music of humanity in nature. So the hearing of the human voice and the presence of the divine in nature, all that is there in nature. लेकिन the mysterious power of nature, that is uncontrollable. That cannot be underlined by any human intellect. Enjambment हमने तुम्हें बताया कि how this whole stanza is written without any break, without stop, and how personification, symbolism and anthropomorphism is used in this particular poem. And it is a poem which is written in free verse style. There is no meter, no rhyme in it. And in fact, single words, the language that he uses, the use of those single words signifying almost like a stanza. But these single words tend to lay emphasis upon the meaning of the poem. So I hope you are able to understand. Oh, sweet spontaneous. Spontaneous is something which goes on spontaneously. You don't have to make an effort to do things. In the same way, nature moves on in its sweet way, carries on its work, carries on the cycle of life and death. It conceives spring as a source of renewal and rebirth in life. That cannot be questioned by any man. Thank you.